you looking for entertainment for a fundraiser, outreach, youth night, date night, or for a conference? Does your team need a way to improve team camaraderie, confidence, and communication? Well, look at Well-Versed Comedy for a show, performance, or workshop. Well-Versed Comedy is Chicago's clean comedy team, and we're ready to serve you, your audience, or your organization. We've headlined our own shows at the Second City, at Getty's Comedy Club in Indianapolis, and started our own TV show called His Line. And we've raised over $5,000 for charity in just the last 2 years. We are now booking for your back-to-school bash, fundraiser, and even your holiday parties. Contact us today and let's see how a night of high-energy, clean, original, family-friendly comedy can make your next event memorable for all the right reasons. Connect with us on social media at WellVersedCMDY. That's at WellVersedCMDY, or online at WellVersedComedy.com. WellVersedComedy.com. For booking information, email us improv@WellVersedComedy.com.
Welcome to the Gifts for Glory podcast, where we celebrate and promote men and women using their gifts for God's glory. Know someone who is making an impact for God's kingdom using their gifts, talents, and passions? We'd love to meet them. Send us an email at podcast@giftsforglory.com. That's podcast@gifts4glory.com. And now here is our host, Dave Ebert.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whenever you're watching or listening. Thank you so much for joining the Gifts for Glory podcast, where we celebrate and promote men and women who use their gifts for God's glory. We're so excited that you're joining us and that you're tuning in, whether you're listening on any podcast platform of your choice, or you're watching either on Facebook Live, on YouTube, or on the Creative Motion Network, or listening on the Taken Television Network podcast channel, now available on Spotify. So all that out of the way, thank you for joining us. A huge shout out to our friend Felicity Joy, who is our Patreon sponsor and supporter. Thank you so much, Felicity, for your ongoing support of Gifts for Glory, Well-Versed Comedy, and everything that we're doing here with Gifts for Glory Ministries. And if you are somebody that kind of enjoys what we do, you want to support us, you want to help us get better, bigger, and more efficient, all the good things, consider being a Patreon supporter. Go to patreon.com/gifts4glory. That's patreon.com/gifts4glory. And support us at any level that you're comfortable with. We truly would appreciate it. There's some great benefits there for you if you're interested in supporting. And if not, just like, share, subscribe, all the things. And of course, please consider leaving a review. Find us on Google and leave a review for Well-Versed Comedy. Let people know that you've enjoyed us. Don't lie, but if you did enjoy us at any level, feel free to embellish upon that. So we really appreciate all those that have left reviews, that have shared, that have followed us. We really do appreciate that support. And let's move on to our Devotions with Dave segment. Tonight's Devotions with Dave will come out of Jude. Jude only has one chapter, so some people do just put Jude 1 as their address. Some others just use Jude and then the verse number. Either way is acceptable. Either way is correct, but Jude does only have one chapter. So reading from Jude, we're going to read verses 22 and 23. And I'm reading from the NLT version. I joke because it sounds most like BLT, and BLT is a gift from God. Verse 22, and you must show mercy to those whose faith is wavering. Rescue others by snatching them from the flames of judgment. Show mercy to still others, but do so with great caution, hating the sins that contaminate their lives. And I think this is the portion where a lot of people have extrapolated the idea of hate the sin, love the sinner. And it is a very, very simplistic way to look at it. But of course, we always want to love the person. We want to love them and show them the love of Christ. We also want to show them that there is only one way to heaven, and that is through Jesus. And so in this passage and throughout Jude, it's talking about ways to minister to others and show them that there is one way. And we also must do it in love. we should not do it with closed fists or throwing the Bible at people. We should be looking for ways to do so in love and do so with grace and mercy. Verse 22, and you must show mercy to those whose faith is wavering. This is talking about those who have faith, but maybe are going through a trial, maybe have gone through a loss. And you want to show mercy to them as they're in that moment, in that season of wavering. It's not to condone a fracture or a damage to their faith, but it's also not to continue to push them further down that path of walking away from faith. So you want to show mercy to those whose faith is wavering, because you want to love them and support them and help them find the right path once again. And in verse 23, rescue others by snatching them from the flames of judgment. That means that those that don't know Christ, you want to find a way to reach them. You want to find a way to show them that they are on a path to destruction. The comparison is always somebody's running towards a cliff, and if you don't say anything and you let them run off the cliff, James talks about that being a sin. If you know what you ought to do and you don't do it, that's sin. So in this case, you want to rescue others by snatching them from the flames of judgment, meaning let them know that they're headed for a cliff. But again, with mercy and with grace, and not as some authoritarian that's just going to push them further away. As the verse continues, show mercy still to others, but do so with great caution. And here, hating the sins, and this is powerful here where it says that contaminate their lives. It's not that we're judging them. It's not that we're coming against them for whatever sin may be in their lives, but we hate what's contaminating them. Just like in the physical realm, we hate cancer. We hate diabetes. We hate heart attacks. We hate strokes. We hate what contaminates somebody's life. We don't hate them, and we just want to work with grace and with mercy and with love to help bring them away from those flames of judgment, and at the same time, do so with caution, hating the sins that contaminate their lives. So that is our Devotions with Dave segment coming from the book of Jude. Jude, a great book, only one chapter, but that's okay. He's got a lot of powerful wisdom in there for you. So that was our Devotions with Dave. And now let's get to our interview. Our guest is a member of Well-Versed Comedy. She joined us this spring. Kelly loves to perform and I love this line from her bio. She is PUNbelievably excited to have joined the cast of Well-Versed Comedy this spring. And in this special edition of the Gifts for Glory podcast, we're going to talk to Kelly about her life on stage and about her faith journey. You can find out more about her and read her bio at kelly.wellversedcomedy.com. You can also follow her on Instagram at CaliforniaLove28. We're on Twitter at California. Several A's on that. Those are in the show notes. So please welcome to the show my friend, my teammate, Kelly's Sweet Iced Z. Kelly, how are you?
Hi, Dave, and everyone.
How you doing tonight?
Okay, I'm geared up. I'm ready to go. I'm just kidding. I'm super nervous. It's fine.
It's okay. It's okay to be nervous because you're with a star of Christian podcasting. I am like number one on all the Indonesian Christian talent-based podcasts. I think I have 5 people. Most of them have called me to tell me about my extended warranty on my car. But Kelly, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us how you grew up, where you're from, because is the California, is that were you from California, or is that just a cool way to tribute your name?
I didn't want to give away all my secrets, Dave,
Okay.
but it's fine. No, when I started Instagram, I think it was 2012, I was in LA working a film festival, and I had been there for 3 festivals, I think, within 2 years. So I was considering, I don't know, I'm just feeling like I love LA and considering, I don't know, pursuing acting at some point there, but my desires have shifted, so it's okay. But that's where and I love puns and using my name in any kind of pun I can get. So that's where the California love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. But were you born and raised here in Illinois,
Okay.
and you just were out there for a short while?
Yeah. So every film. So yes, I was born Chicago, raised in Round Lake, lived there until college, and then moved after. And I went to Columbia College, Chicago, and then moved to Rolling Meadows after that, and have been here since. And then as far as when I was in LA, it was only like a couple weeks at a time. So for 3 different times. But yeah.
Very cool. So you're out there for film festivals. How did you get into acting and getting on stage? What inspired you? And tell us some of the things that you've been a part of.
Okay, so anyone who knows me from my childhood, should be more embarrassing than it is, but knows that I was obsessed with Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen from Full House, and now the PETA side in me is like, no, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. But so I just wanted to do whatever they were doing, whether it was like change my hair or whatever. But in 4th grade, I got to do my first play at an after school club. And that I was like, I was a stepsister in Cinderella. And that was it. No, I never looked back. Just kidding. But yeah, I don't know. So let me think. I did a show in 8th grade with the same director that I worked with in 4th grade, and then got connected in high school, or I auditioned, and that came out of I was in a POMS team and got canceled due to funding and things like that. So then I auditioned my sophomore year and truly felt like, oh my gosh, goodness, like this is my favorite thing ever. So yeah, I loved it in high school. And then I decided, and I always felt like as a little girl, like I was gonna be a movie star or something. And then after high school, during high school, I decided to go to college for acting. So I went to Columbia College because anyone can get in for that. It's open acceptance. No, but with Columbia, you got to start with acting classes right off the bat. So I didn't have to wait a couple years. I could start. So a little plug for Columbia. But and then as far as acting goes, I don't know how much I should say or like how long to go, but
We've got an hour, so
okay.
share it. Share
Um,
away.
so let me think. And then right after college, I got a job at Edebevix, which if you know, they are super sassy, the wait staff, and I was a hostess. And I had my name was Candy Rapper, but Kandie Rapper. And I would rap on the mic before they would do their dance because I couldn't do the dance because I wasn't at that level. But so I would do a little rap. This is Candy
Okay.
Rapper. I need your attention. Okay. Anyway,
No, keep going. Let's hear it.
we're gonna entertain you on a whole new dimension. We're gonna dance and put your hunger on hold. Don't freak, yo, your food won't get that cold. Okay, anyway.
Nice.
So on the count of 1, 2, 3, clap your hands and stop your feet. Oh, that was I need you to make some noise for me. Okay, that's it. That was it. So that was fun. And then I got into film festivals, worked so back to acting, sorry. I traveled a little bit to do some film festivals and babysat like on the side, and there were I think 8 years that I didn't do any auditioning or anything. But then there was a show that was rehearsing right down the road pretty much from me, and it ended up being Jesus Christ Superstar, and I got in as ensemble. And I will say that I had some struggle with that at first, thinking, is this show blasphemous? I mean, I sought counsel from my grandpa who was a pastor, different friends who knew the show, my own pastor. Yeah, I struggled with it. And then on the third day, truly, there was a song, and I was like, okay, I felt more peace finally doing it. And I know that God used that space to glory. Like I got to talk about him with others. I don't know how, if it planted seeds or not, but I learned more by doing it. So, and after that, I was like, okay, well, maybe I can keep doing this now that I got over that like fear or whatever that was that kept me from acting for 8 years. Um, I don't know if it was 8 years. I think I'm including college, believe it or not, because I didn't actually do a lot of theater in college. I ended up doing student films a ton,
Okay.
and I loved it. And then I did some TV um, acting as well in the TV department. Um, so anyway, then I saw auditions for another theater that was a Christian theater called Overshadowed Theatrical
Mhm.
Productions, and auditioned for that. And I even felt at that first audition, it was It's a Wonderful Life. I felt such I was like not at peace. I was not peace. It was like the enemy was trying to get me out of there. And
Mm.
because I just was so scared, I was like, okay, because I was auditioning in front of a room full of people that seemed to know each other. And I had never had to audition like that before, where you're watching everybody else audition. That scared me so much. So, but then I
Right.
met someone that I knew or had known from like a Caribou Coffee, and that kind of gave me a little relief. So then I auditioned and never looked back.
What role did you get in It's a Wonderful Life?
Um, I was Ruth Bailey, which was the wife of Harry Bailey, the brother of George. But then I also was offered understudy for Mary. I didn't get to go on as her, but it was okay. Our Mary was awesome, and I, yeah, it was a great experience just being around fellow Christians and
Uh,
dancing.
About I guess it was 4 years ago. I got to play Uncle Billy.
Oh, you'd be great. I could see that. You did?
I did. And my now pastor, he played the role of George Bailey.
Oh,
S- And Bobby, my wife, was the banker. And we actually had a performance on the day of her birthday. And I really wanted and I really tried to lobby to let me break the fourth wall and sing to her in the middle of our scene because she's the banker that I'm up, to do the deposit. And she's like, well, normally when you make a deposit, you bring cash. And I was like, oh, I wanted to sing to her in that moment, but they kept giving me the no and they nixed it. But I started thinking, well, what are they going to do? Fire me? But I guess it was better in the long run that I didn't. But it was fun. But yeah, Uncle Billy was fun. The scene where he's leaving George's house and he falls off screen. In the movie, that was actually an accident, and the actor just ad libbed.
really?
Said that I'm okay because I think it was somebody on set had knocked over some film cans, and he's off camera. He just yells, "I'm okay," and they kept it. So as Uncle Billy, in front of everybody, every night I took a face plant on stage.
Oh my. Uh,
It was fun. I got to bring back my wrestling background of learning how to take a fall.
yeah. Did you said 4 years ago?
Yeah, 4 years ago.
Because I think it was 2018 that I actually did that show again with Overshadowed, and my friend Steve, shout out Steve, played Uncle Billy, and I was cousin Tilly. So in that one. And then my dad got to be in that show too. So that was special.
Oh,
And I'll plug Mary and George Bailey are now married. They were dating at the time, but now they're married. So it was
oh.
special. Yeah.
It'd been kind of a cool story if their first kiss was actually as George and Mary in the play.
Can I tell you a secret? I hope this is okay.
Sure.
They don't they don't smooch at Overshadowed. To my knowledge. I mean, unless they're married. Like
Right.
there's none of that in the shows, which I think is nice because if you're I don't know. That's off topic maybe, but
No, that's cool because as a pastor, as George Bailey, he did not want to do the smooching, so they staged smooch where it was like covered, and
Mm-hmm.
I offered to be the stand and let him kiss me because that would have been fine. No, not at all. All right, so Kelly,
pushing the envelope here.
yeah. Well, there's a secular theater. We're trying to reach the lost. So, so Kelly, my favorite part of every show is diving in and hearing the story of each guest's salvation. How just the story of how did Jesus find you, and how did you cut to the point where you're like, okay, I give in, I tap out, I'm yours. And everybody's got a great story. I really enjoy hearing them. So the floor is yours. How did you get to a relationship with Jesus? Were you in a Christian? Well, you said you have pastors in your family. Your dad was a pastor, or is a pastor. So obviously you learned a little bit at home, but was there ever like a rebellion or a prodigal journey for you? Tell us.
So it was my grandpa that was a
Grandpa,
pastor.
sorry.
Yeah. And let's see. So where do I begin? I remember specifically, when people ask, like, when did you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior? I remember a night, but I don't remember how old I was. And I always think maybe 8 or 9. I don't know. Because I would often spend time with my grandparents. And it was one of those nights where I was spending the night, and my grandma kind of went over everything she could. And I had questions, and it was so fun learning about heaven. And at the end of that long talk, she asked me if I believed, and she or my grandpa, I think they were both there for it. I remember like exact spot in their house that they asked me, and I said yes. But I was young, of course, and I didn't know what all that meant. And then my mom and so my grandpa was a pastor, but my mom and dad were split up. So I lived as an only child with my single mom, single parent mom. So, and we lived kind of far away from my grandpa's church, so we didn't really go that often, maybe on holidays. I know, #Creasters. But I can see that God would provide over the years different people that would point me back to Him throughout my life. In high school, I had a neighbor who kind of told me about a youth group that I tried out a little bit, and then in college, that was it could have been a very dark experience at the liberal arts school, but I still even there met a Christian who encouraged me to go to church with her out here, and sorry, I'm like, so I could see like God providing and bringing me back, even if I didn't know what it meant to walk with Him. And then I went. Okay, I know I've told you this before, but I went on a solo Eurozean trip, a trip to Europe and I met this pastor. He was a Parisian seminarian. So he was from Paris, seminarian. And I met him like in Boston on my first solo trip. And it encouraged me to go there. I mean, just knowing I had someone over there if I needed anything, and it helped, like, just talking to him about God was encouraging. So anyway, I went to Europe, and I just developed an intentionality. I remember going into every like cathedral that I saw, every church, every chapel, and just spending time like praying. And then also being young and not a good planner, I ended up seeing God's provision so many times there's one time in Paris that I ended up staying at a friend of a friend of a friend, so like many levels of, because I couldn't find a hostel or whatever the case. So I would see God's provision, and And then after that whole church, sorry, that's where I was going with this. After that whole trip, I came back and somebody asked me to babysit for their church, their Monday morning Bible study for the
Okay.
moms. So I started babysitting, and then the pastor's wife asked me to watch her girls once, and they are the ones that invited me to the church service. So because I knew them, I felt like a little more brave and able to go. So I was a 20-something, like just going to church on my own for the first time, and then I went the next week, and then I quickly just got involved and became my home church. I got baptized within, I don't know, I'm trying to think. I started maybe in September. I got baptized in April, and then was also involved with volunteering for the youth group. And it was kind of cool because the things that those kids were experiencing, I was kind of experiencing for the first time even though I was a chaperone, just because I hadn't done that in my teenage years. And so there was a lot of transformation that happened through all of that. And
Sure.
I remember feeling when I did get baptized, I felt like the clean slate. And of course, over time, I've still continued to learn what it means to surrender and what it means to repent. And I know that it's been a long journey, and sanctification is still happening. There's still things, that I struggle with. And, but there's been a lot of healing as well. And
Yeah. So with the with the kind of your own journey, the separate, you're having a grandfather as a pastor certainly planted some seeds that were later came to harvest. But what was kind of the hardest thing about building that relationship with Christ? Was there somebody in your life that maybe judged you or maybe attacked you for making that decision? Was there anybody that tried to pull you back away from following Christ?
I think I would get some, like, when I felt like, super excited about my faith as a 20-something, when I went to this church, and I started to be more vocal about it, like online, I would get some kind of atheist feedback of like, well, why do you want verses when you could just read like different books or whatever the case? But I think the thing that maybe then and now is the struggle with, or the thing that interferes, I guess, for lack of a better word, is my own insecurities are the things that get in the way of my relationship with Christ. Because if I knew my own value, which has taken a long time to get to know, from theologically to my heart, that I feel like, and not knowing, being too caught up in my own head about things has definitely been something that's gotten in the way.
Have you seen progress with that and seen how it's lost power over time?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, thanks to many years of counseling and many different people speaking truth into my life, and being surrounded by, like, walking the walk, being among other Christians and other people that are encouraging. I think I said that. But and just taking, I guess, taking it more, what is the word I'm trying to say? I don't know. I forgot the word. That's okay. But yeah, for sure, there's been a lot of growth, even though I know you know me and some of the things I deal with. And it's been a long journey, but believe it or not, I've come a ways. So
Yeah. One thing, when I first moved to Chicago, I was looking for every opportunity to perform, whether it's student films, improv, or stages. And I know I have a couple of short films that I was a part of that maybe they're not against or antithetical to what the Bible teaches, but I'm not proud of them. Did you ever have any student films where you went back and you're like, maybe I shouldn't have done that one?
Funny you ask. Yeah, there were a few that now I'd totally be convicted about that I didn't know any better back then. Yeah, that even then I probably would have been like, oh, I don't know that I want people to see this necessarily or see me in this way. But yeah, definitely more convicted on things like, things that we promote or represent, I guess.
Yeah. I was in a Christmas film where the one director wanted me to make a joke about 9/11. I said, no, I'm not doing that. And I ended up getting a lot of my scenes or my shots got edited out at the end. I think because I refused to follow direction, which I'm kind of glad, because watching the film now, I'm like, yeah, that one's not going on my resume ever again. It's so funny. You run out and you try to find every opportunity, and then you realize I was really getting ahead of God. I should have been a little bit more discerning on what projects I signed up for.
Discernment is huge. That's the word I was looking for before.
Oh, I'm glad I could deliver it 2 minutes late.
Thanks. That wasn't the first word I was blocked out on, but that was the other one.
So one thing I didn't even talk about it in the beginning before we got to your testimony was you're a member of Well-Versed Comedy. You auditioned and joined us earlier this spring. So tell us what drew you to audition and a little bit about what you enjoy, or even you can even say what you don't enjoy about improv with us.
And I also forgot to mention in the long story of my acting background is that I like to credit my grad school to my grad school experience to Second City in Chicago. I auditioned several times and eventually got into their music improv program. So I have a little background with that, even though I'm telling you, it was like the scariest thing for me.
Right.
And I was always the weakest link. I know that I was, but I had some good moments, but I never truly felt as free as I do now with Well-Versed. My friend Naomi told me about auditions. I'm trying to think if it was her or Jonathan, but both of them ended up talking to me about auditions, and I haven't done improv since. And that was, I think we graduated in 2013. And I think it was, yeah. So it's been a long time, and I knew this is one of those things that I'm never going to feel confident that, or like I've landed, like trusting my abilities to do it, because it's so hit or miss. But with Well-Versed, I don't know if I'm going on a tangent because I do, but I will say one of the things I like is a safe environment, and you guys have been super grace filled with my own, with having the struggles that I've had and the doubts and insecurities. Because of the grace and because of just the freedom and not having to worry about the content that we will touch on, and I've grown, I think, as a performer, and I have found the joy in doing it because, I don't know, it's fun when we get those moments that just come out. Like, it's so cool.
And we were live on August the 8th. And so last Tuesday would have been the 2nd. And you had probably your best rehearsal ever this past Tuesday. And it was a fun rehearsal.
It really was. Despite coming late, it was really fun. I don't know if I was super tired that day or what, but things were just like, I was not holding back. I didn't have to, I don't know. The ideas were coming, and it doesn't always happen that way, but thank you.
Yeah, and it's been fun watching your growth as a performer, um, and I know that musical improv is different than what we do, but there's a lot of similar philosophies and skill set that's required. So it's been fun seeing you grow, and I think that we've got one of the best groups of talent in Chicagoland as a team, especially with me at the helm. Um, I am so humble. Let me tell you about it. Um, but and you brought it up. The big point is it's a safe place because you never have to worry about what's going to be said. You never have to worry about being trapped into deciding whether or not to yes and something that's going to be blue or insulting or degrading. It's a safe environment, and that's how I explain to people who try to say, well, if you're doing just clean comedy, that's so limiting and that's so um, uncreative. But I think that we're able to be more creative because we're free not to be afraid of what the other person's going to say or do.
It's like being obedient to God, right? It's like that idea of, oh, we can't have fun because we need to follow certain rules or guidelines. Air quotes a lot, sorry. But it's true. Like, God knows best what is going to be life-giving for us. And it's similar to improv. And what you just said reminded me of that, is like being obedient to Christ is similar. Am I pulling for strings? I don't know. I had the thought. Maybe it's not landing.
It's
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, people are like, well, Christian sounds very limiting or restricting, but no, there's a lot of freedom once you're obedient to have joy in the things that God wants for you.
And yeah, exactly. And let's think about it. We serve the ultimate creator. He thought and created everything you see. He thought about the stars in the sky. He thought about the planets. He thought about the lowly duck-billed platypus, this little beaver with a duck bill and tiny little hands. I mean, he's the ultimate creator. We're made in his image. So why would we think that we're going to be any less creative on our scale? And that's my thought, and that's what I'm sticking to.
I like what you say. It's okay to laugh. God invented it.
Yeah.
Your quote.
Yeah. We serve a good Father. He's like the holy mushroom. He's a very fun guy. And that's my next T-shirt. God is a mushroom. He's a fun guy.
Oh, golly.
All right, so I warned you before we went on the air that there are 2 closing segments. The last one is going to be your wise counsel for anybody that wants to use their gifts for God's glory. So I'll let that marinate in the back of your mind. But first, let's do the interrogation. 7 random questions that otherwise wouldn't have fit in the interview. So here we go. So I cut you off with the bumper. What were you going to say?
I was like thinking of what they maybe could be like the most random questions. So I'm ready, but not ready, but ready.
Okay, well, ready or not, here we go. Question number 1. What was your favorite cartoon as a kid?
Oh, Tweety. And my grandpa made me a Tweety bed that still exists in my mom's house.
Nice. Question number 2. What's your favorite comfort food?
Oh my goodness. Anything chocolate. Pupusas. Shout out to pupusas that I don't get very often, but they're Salvadorian.
Ooh, that sounds good. Who's your favorite superhero and why?
I'm really not good with these, but some kids are introducing me to Marvel, and who did I like the best? I don't know. I'm so out of it. I kind of like Iron Man. I feel like that's going to upset people, but he's a little... Okay, wait. I like that Captain America was set in the 40s. I'll just say that.
Yeah. Captain America is very cool. All right, number 4. What keeps you up at night?
Social media.
Question number 5. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I don't know. Just
Okay.
spending too much time scrolling, you know.
Yeah. Same here. I get
Should I
both
go?
Bobby and I, what's that?
Sorry. Like, is that too shallow? Should I go deeper with that?
No, these are your answers. It's kind of like playing 5 things. There's no wrong answer. We just go with what sticks out in your mind right away.
Okay.
So question number 5 is, how do you recharge?
Also, what were you going to say about you and Bobby?
Oh, me and Bobby end up staying up really late watching comedian Nazareth. He has a nightly show where people just interact with him for an hour. We end up staying up way too late on social media because of that.
Okay.
So question number 5, how do you recharge?
I mean, when I do read the word, that's always fulfilling or filling. And can I say running? Is that, I don't know.
Yeah.
When I run with my friends and when I finish the run, I'm like, okay, I'm still on path. But
running does the opposite to me. It drains me for weeks. So if you see me running, join along because I'm probably being chased.
to be fair, it is really draining when you're doing it, but afterward you get like this boost of like, I did it. So yeah.
Nice. And we talked before we went on the air that the shadow over your right shoulder is all your medals from all your running and all your success. You're a trailblazer.
Thanks.
All right, question number 6. If you could go back, what's one thing that you'd change?
Oh no. I would say how I've treated people when I didn't have the therapy under my belt of like why I'm behaving certain ways. So hurting people out of being hurt, if I would have been healed or would have known the tools to, we're getting deep, but
Yeah.
and that goes for today too. I mean, I'm still saying things that I, don't think about enough beforehand. By the way, can I show you one of them just because it's
Sure.
Wait, no, this is the really ridiculous. I just put this up today, but it's bigger than.
Wow.
It's so silly. It's so silly. This is not even for a marathon. This is for the half marathon. But they make it like the size of a tortilla. Sorry.
Well, so can you pick up satellite TV on that?
Let me try. Oh my gosh, that reminds me of Stranger Things. But anyway.
All right, so the final question of the interrogation. What's been your favorite moment as a member of Well-Versed Comedy?
Okay. This is a moment in the show, maybe a couple shows ago. Of course, being with you guys and just growing together as like a group and being a family of fellow believers and things like that. But when I won challenge, because I got to sing Go Cubs Go, and that was a highlight for me because I was just on a roll with that. I don't even remember what the topic was. Hot dogs or something?
I think maybe like what goes on a hot dog or something, or is a hot dog a sandwich?
Okay, I don't know. But it was basically like I got people to sing Go Cubs Go, so that was fun.
Nice. I'm always a fan of hearing that song. All right, so the final question that I ask every guest is for anyone that looks to step up and use their gifts for God's glory, and that could be their passions, their talents, even their experiences. If they want to use it all for God's glory, what would your wise counsel be?
I would say don't let fear debilitate you. I've done that a lot. And I would say that God likes to bring you the gifts, bring you the desires of your heart if they're in alignment and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes the no's can be protection from God. So even though it feels super personal, just to continue to seek Him and trust that He will provide. And yeah, don't get too caught up in your head. And I need to listen to that too, of like, die to self, die to that insecurity so that you can continue to be a vessel. Because if you're not, you're stuck very self-focused instead of serving. So die to self, be a servant, and trust that God will provide.
And as you mentioned a second ago about sometimes the no's are protection by from God, it just reminded me of the great prophet Garth Brooks that said some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers.
I love that. Oh, I'm a country girl from the 90s, so I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm here to serve. So, Kelly, you made it through. It was a fun interview. For anybody that likes what we talked about, please check us out at wellversedcomedy.com. Or if you like doing it on the socials, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at wellversedcmdy. Twitter has this weird little limit on how long your handle can be, so that's why we had to cut out the O and the E in comedy. I say that we had a vowel movement to get our handles up. All right, so check us out at wellversedcmdy. Kelly, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks,
You're
everyone.
welcome. So we will see everybody next week. Thanks for tuning in, and have a blessed rest of your week.